Hey guys, and welcome back. And in this part we're going to go ahead and add a couple of extra details to this and this before we can go ahead and move on to the hand. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add this trap kind of thing to this piece, which should be fairly easy to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unsmooth this and isolate like so, and actually instead of that we're going to duplicate this and move it to the side, okay, because we're going to extract some pieces of this, well actually one piece. So make sure it's on smooth, and then we're going to go ahead and add in an edge loop about here and about here. Okay, so once we have that, we can go ahead and select the faces that we need. So I'm going to go ahead and go to face, go into my side view, and I'm going to click and drag all of those, and we're going to go ahead and hit mesh extract, and then in my outliner go ahead and find this, drag it out, and also find a piece that I actually need, which is this one. I'm going to go ahead and modify center pivot, move it up, and now we can delete the rest of this before we drag it out of the group like so, and come out of my isolation mode, and here is our piece. And this seems like we got a little bit of a bug, so what we're going to do is right click, assign existing material, and it's going to be Lambert 1 like so. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and sort out a couple of things. First of all, we're now going to need these faces here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete those like so, and I'm not going to need this edge, so double click delete edge, and I'm not going to need this edge like so. And now we can go ahead and give this some width, so I'm going to hit extrude and go to my channel box and just give it thickness like so, probably a bit less than that, 0.05. There we go, that's looking pretty good. And now we're just going to go ahead and do our usual adding in the edge loops and so on. So go to insert edge loop tool, I need one there, I need one here, I need one here, and we're going to need one on the bottom here as well. And we're also going to need them around here. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can go ahead and hit smooth, see how it's looking. It's looking pretty good. So now we're just going to move it to a right position. It's going to be around here. And I'm just going to have a look at this, see how it's looking. That looks perfect-ish. I might go ahead and scale this down a tiny bit so it hugs the end a bit more. Just going to my front view again. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let me just have a look again. Okay, that looks all good to me. So now we've got that strap sorted. Just isolate this because I think we haven't added in this edge loop here. So let's just go ahead and do that. So smooth, come out, isolate. And there we go, we got that strap created. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and cut, add a bit of extra detail on this piece. So we're going to go ahead and isolate. what we actually got to do is cut a little hole in this, and then there will be a sort of a screw coming out of it. I got another reference on the side, so I'm using that. And let me just sort it out properly, and then we can go ahead and start working on this. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and make this make it live. So go to modify, make live, and then we're going to use cylinder with the same divisions that this one had, so just a standard cylinder unless you changed it. And gonna click and drag in the middle, so I'm gonna sort of make sure it's the size that I need, which is probably around here somewhere. Just eyeballing the size, and we're not gonna need a height. And now we can go ahead and modify, make live, modify, make not live. So there's our cylinder, and there's this. So what we're going to do next is we're actually going to go ahead and select these faces. And while I'm here, actually, we're going to go ahead and move this up if I can. Well, I probably can't, but that's right. Never mind. We're going to go ahead and select all of these. And go ahead and hit extrude scale. I'm going to scale this in probably to about here. It doesn't really matter. And we're going to go ahead and also we're going to delete these two edges because we don't really need them. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and select all of these and delete them. Like so. If I find the cylinder, select both of them and isolate both if I can. So select this and this and isolate. Actually, I've done this wrong. I'm going to go ahead and select both of them, go to mesh combine, and then go ahead and isolate them like so. And now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and merge all these vertices together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use our merge vertex tool, and I'm going to start here and start going around, merging all of these together. So after this, we can go ahead and extrude this hole in, like so. And this should work unless you change the amount of divisions it had. If you did, you're going to have to make sure that the cylinder that you be adding going to have the same amount of divisions, okay? So now that we've done this, we can go ahead and select all of these faces again. And we're going to go ahead and hit extrude. And going to give it a rim, like so. So once we smooth it, it's going to be okay. So really tight rim, hit extrude again. I'm going to go ahead and move this down. And we're just going to have to go ahead and, for some reason, delete these faces. Oh, I think we selected an extra one. Just going to do that again. There we go. So this is what you should have. And now I can go ahead and we're actually probably gonna drag this up a little bit more instead of having it so deep. So it's gonna select all of these again. I know it's a little bit of a pain, but oh well. So we're gonna probably drag it up to about here, and I'm just gonna check the bottom and it's fine. So drag it up to about here. And while these are selected, we're going to go ahead and extrude again and scale. So a tiny bit of an offset, like so. And then I'm going to use our insert edge loop tool add one in here, and add one in here. Okay, so now if you go ahead and smooth this, you got this nice little rim around it. Okay, so now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and trying to think if we should make it as a, yeah, we'll make it as a one piece instead of separate piece. So we're going to go ahead and select all these faces again, like so, and hit extrude, scale, and scale it into about here, and hit extrude again, scale in 20 bit. Okay, so you got that rim, hit extrude, W, I'm going to drag it up, extrude, W, drag up. So I'm just going to go into my side view so I can see where we are. That should be okay. So not too much, not too little, probably about there. Hit extrude again, drag up a bit so we get that loop. Extrude, scale in. So a tiny bit. Hit extrude again, scale in. Extrude, W, move it up so you get that loop. I know it seems a bit complicated, but it's not that complicated. Like so, extrude, W, up, and now I can go into my side view so I can see how far this is actually coming out. Probably about here. Extrude again, W, up. And then now back to my perspective mode. Extrude, scale, inwards to about there. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. Now if you smooth it, let's see how it's looking. Quite like that, yep. So you got a nice little rim around here, that little indentation, and this is our piece. So let's just look at that. That looks really, really nice. I really like this detail. So now what we're going to do, we're actually going to go ahead and add this on the bottom as well. Might as well. So I'm just going to duplicate this, modify center pivot, and we're going to go ahead and drag this down, scale Y-1, I think it should be. There we go. And we're just going to go ahead and move this back up to the right place. Turn on my X-ray. And there we go. Okay, so now we got that detail at the end as well, and I really like the way that is looking. So we got that completed. Now what we're going to do is, before we can move on to the hand, we are going to go ahead and let me just drag this out from here. Get rid of this group. Oh, actually, I need that. Let me have a look. Hand cylinder 1. Okay. We'll go ahead and select all of these. Go to Edit. Clear all by type history. And let me have a look at what's going on here. We might as well sort out names while we're here. So this is going to be the arm joint. And then this is going to be arm shield. Just going to call it that so I know what it is. Don't know what this is. There we go. Arm shield strap. This is going to be our arm rotation joint. Bottom. And this is going to be our actual arm. Okay, so that's a bit better. Now I actually know what's going on. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and add, there's going to be a hole here where this little cylinder comes out that holds his hand basically. So if I just have a look at my side view, there are these cylinders that are coming out that are actually attached to this cylinder. To make it a bit more realistic, instead of just plugging the cylinder in here, we're actually going to cut a hole in to give it some more detail. Okay, and we're going to use the same technique that we used here. So I'm going to go ahead, unsmooth this and isolate. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and select all these faces that we need and extrude it, scale in a bit. It doesn't really matter how much you do this, okay, because you're going to merge them vertices anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and select them two edges again that are here because we don't really need them. Okay, and now that we have that, we can go ahead and make this live. So modify, make live, and again we're going to use a cylinder. So you're going to drag in the middle, about there, and if I look at my reference, I'm going to no height, so I'm just going to hit Q. I'm just going to look at my other reference I have here to see how big this actually meant to be. It's probably going to be roughly this size. Hopefully it's not going to be too small or too big. Okay, so well, we're going to go with that. So now we're going to go ahead and make this not live. So I'm just going to make something live, modify, make not live, and now I'm going to go ahead and select these faces here that we don't need anymore. So again, I'm going to select all of these and delete them, like so. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this and that and go to Mesh Combine, select all of these, edit, delete all by type history, and going to rename this to be our arm, and going to go and isolate. And now again, you can go ahead and merge all these vertices together. So use my merge vertex tool, and I'm probably going to start off here because these line up the best. So this way, hopefully I'm not going to mess things up. So click and drag, line up, make sure you're snapping it to the right edge, vertex, like so. Okay, there we go. So that's looking pretty good. Come off my isolation mode, and actually you can go back to isolation, and we're going to go ahead and select all of these, and again we're going to go ahead and give this an extra rim. So extrude, scale in, and I want this edge to be really tight, like so. Now we can go ahead and extrude this again, move in, and again I'm going to have to go ahead and delete all of these, like so. So there's our indentation, but we're going to go ahead and move this in further. So I'm going to select all of these. Okay, and just move them fairly deep to about there. Go ahead and hit extrude, scale in, so we get that loop around there. And while I'm here, I'm going to use my insert edge loop tool, add one in here, and also we're going to add one in here. Okay, so that's pretty good. Let's just move that, see if it's looking pretty good, and I like that. So now what we're going to do, we're actually going to go ahead and make this pipe that we need. And I'm going to come out of my isolate and duplicate this, modify center pivot, and move it to the side, and you're going to steal these faces off here. So you're going to go ahead and select this face. Oh, that didn't work. Face, select all of these, go to mesh, extract, select the one that you need, drag this out, delete that after you deleted the history. Edit, delete all by type history, and now you can delete this. And now we got that cylinder that we're gonna need, and I'm just gonna go ahead and extrude this over here just to give it some size. And while I'm here, I might as well go ahead and go to my front view, select all of these, extrude, scale in a little bit, if that worked. Oh, instead of that, we're going to do it with the offset. So you're going to go to offset, 0.01. And that looks pretty good. And now we can go ahead and use our insert edge loop tool, add one in here, add one in at the end. And this is not very good. So we're going to grab that and move it. About there. Okay, so now we can go ahead and smooth this, see how it's looking pretty good. And I just got one problem, this edge is still not very tight, so I'm just going to select that. Okay, that's not too bad. Am I going to have to go ahead try to move that a bit closer, see how it's looking. It's okay, it's not great. Anyway, you're going to modify center pivot and move this in where it needs to be, smooth that, smooth this, go to my front view and going to drag it in where it's going to live, about there, and I'm going to go ahead and scale down. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and move this in a bit more just so we get a feel of how this is going to sit in there. That looks pretty good. And before we go ahead and move along, I'm just going to go ahead and add in one more little detail to this. So I'm going to go ahead and unsmooth this, select all of these faces, and I'm going to drag this out like so, scale in a bit, probably about that much. And we're going to go ahead, extrude again, scale in, we're going to go ahead and extrude one more time, and this one I'm going to actually go inwards like so. Okay, so we can go ahead and extrude this one more time just to give it that rim like so. And then now we're going to quickly go ahead and add in these edge loops that we need. Oh, so we're going to need one here, also going to need some, if my mouse would work. There we go. So gonna need one on the inner rim Not there. Not there. It's an edge loop around here. Let me just look at this. And let's go ahead and hit smooth, see how it's looking. Looking pretty good. It seems like we're going to need some extra edge loops in here because it doesn't smooth how I want it to. So I'm going to add one down here. Going to add one down here. Seems like we're also going to add one here. And I think we're also going to add one here. Let's just have a look how that's looking. Okay, that's a lot better. Right, okay, so we got these sorted, and now we're going to do, and sorry, I just had an error. In the next couple of parts, we're going to go ahead and carry on working on the hand.